This is today's business leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
All right. Today on the show, I have Curran Alvarez with us, and I'm super excited about this episode. I love meeting everybody that I meet on my show. And I think I've mentioned this before, but I kind of started the show just super selfishly because I just want to talk to other cool entrepreneurs. But I figured while I'm talking to them, I might as well share it with the rest of the world. So I super appreciate you being on here because I think your story is really interesting. And one of the big reasons I asked you to come on, and I super appreciate you taking the time out, is that you are probably one of the most authentic, kind of heartfelt, heart first people that I've began to follow on Facebook. I don't know, a year or two ago, a little while ago. And your heart is in what you do, and that's honestly one of the biggest reasons why you're here today. So thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me here.
Awesome. So we'll start out like we always do, and then we'll get into some questions I have, and you can ask whatever questions you want, of course, too. But when did you first realize that you were an entrepreneur?
Well, I first realized I'm an entrepreneur actually when I was, I was 23 years old. I'm 26 now. It was really crazy how it all happened, but I had just lost I was in a band. I was a traveling musician. I got one of my guitars behind me, but I was in a traveling rock and roll band. I lost my band. I lost my job. I was in a relationship. I almost lost my mom. And, it was in that moment when I found myself in the unemployment office at 22 years old, because that was like the normal thing to do, right? Like when you lose your job, you go to the unemployment office. And as I was sitting there, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Like half of my friends were almost done with school. I didn't want to go to school. The other half of my friends were in a famous rock and roll band, traveling the world, doing what they love. And I'm like, man, what am I doing here? And that's actually when my entire life shifted. And I was introduced to this crazy thing called network marketing. And at the time, I had never heard of such a thing. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even know that you could be your own boss. I'd been through 12 years of school, elementary, grade school, first grade to 12th grade. And not one time wasn't mentioned to me that I could work for myself and be my own boss. Although I had always been an entrepreneur all along, I just didn't even know that that was a thing. So
wow.
I finally came to the realization, like, oh my gosh, this is a thing, this way of being, when I was 23 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy that you never heard that old. That's just bizarre that you didn't hear about it or didn't see it or ignored it if it was mentioned to you. That's pretty strange.
No, it definitely wasn't mentioned, man. I'm telling you, I was in a little tiny town in Indiana called Centerville.
Gotcha.
Where it was like, my graduation class was, I think, 77 people. And it was either go to school or get a job that no one wants to work. That's it. I remember very clearly.
Brutal, dude. Wow. So then you find out about this network marketing thing, and what companies or products were you first introduced to, or what was that like? Because I have another reason why you're on is I think that you do that right, and I also think that there's a lot of network marketing out there that really doesn't solve people's problems or help them, and that's a scam. But that's like any business, like any product, any info marketing, but that can happen anywhere. But I think sometimes that network marketing gets a bad rap because people don't join the right companies or they don't start out right. So how did that happen?
Well, I'll give you the condensed Cliff Notes version, okay? But believe it or not, I'm actually still with the first company that I was ever introduced to.
Wow.
That to me is because I found something that spoke to my heart, kind of like you mentioned in the beginning. And so what had happened is actually after I'd lost my job, I called my manager back and I said, hey, I've been working there for almost 2 years. I said, hey, I really don't think you can just let someone go out of nowhere, out of the blue, for just not being a right fit. That was the excuse, not being a right fit. Now, come to find out, long story short, the managers thought I was going to take their job, and so I was let go, But that being said, when I was sitting in that unemployment office, I actually called my job back and I said, hey, I don't think you can do this. And they're like, you know what? You're right. As the GM, he's like, I personally loved you. if you want, you can transfer to Dayton, Ohio. And at the time, remember, I was in this little town in Indiana. So Dayton, Ohio, that's almost an hour and a half each way from my house. And at the time, I made $7 an hour at my job driving a 1996 V8 40 Econoline van. So if you can do the math, there weren't many nights I was able to make it home.
Yeah.
But that being said, I was introduced to this after being into this profession, after being at work one day, and the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen walk through the doors. And I'm sure you can already tell where this is going, but that woman came right in. She grabbed the schedule out of the back office and walked right out. And I didn't see her again for another three weeks. And I was like, who is this woman? And one of my coworkers said, oh, that's Liz. She's a tattoo artist. She's actually leaving for a tattoo convention this week. She just came in to grab her schedule. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I've been getting tattooed, if you guys can't tell, since I was 16 years old. I was like, I love getting tattooed. But at this time I had $150 to my name, man. And I remember she was just starting off as an apprentice. And so she had $100 tattoo session. And that was just her apprenticeship. And so when I actually finally did have a chance to meet her, my dumb ass scheduled a tattoo with her with $150 to my name.
Right.
And that being said, it turned out to be the most divine meeting of my life. She ended up being the only contact I had in my phone from Ohio. I remember messaging her one day, asking her if she would want to go to the mall, just do anything. At this point, I was so depressed. I was the lowest of the low. It was, in my personal life. I mean, I hit rock bottom. I lost everything. In my reality, right? But it was when she finally sent me a message back after I asked her if she would want to hang out, and it was a book, and it said, I have no interest in you, this is not a date. It was like, I'm focused on my career, I'm going to school, da 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 da, and at the bottom it was like, but I'll go. Right? And so we ended up spending the entire day at the mall and going out to eat, and just had a really good day. And at the end of the day, I had this feeling inside that just was like, it was like screaming at me, like I could do this every day. Like that, I just remember that feeling, like it just going through my head. That thought was, I could do this every single day. And believe it or not, man, I ended up moving in that very next day with Liz, and that woman today is my wife. And when I went to go to the sink to grab a drink of water, like any normal human being on the planet, I just went and I got a cup out of the cabinet. I started filling up my glass with water, and she nearly speared me out of the kitchen like Goldberg from WWE. I mean, she straight up speared me and was like, no, you cannot drink that. I'm like, what do you mean? I mean, coming from I'll be a little more specific. I was in a death metal band. I was not just in a rock and roll band. I was playing death metal.
Yeah.
So coming from death metal and skateboarding, all water was just water. If it was clear, right. If it was wet, it's all the same thing. And she said, you know what? It's not all the same, but here, I got a jug in the fridge. Just drink out of this jug. And tomorrow, if you want to learn more about it, I can take you to the tattoo shop to introduce you to my mentor, and he can share with you more about it.
Wow.
And so I went to the tattoo shop that very next day, and there was a guy with a beard down to his belly button and dreadlocks to the floor. And he had this display of, maybe 15 different bottles of water, Gatorade, Sprite, Propel, vitamin water, you name it, Fiji, the whole works. And he just showed me, it was a 3.5 hour long presentation on how this water was, supposedly different than every other water, right?
Yeah.
And when I was introduced to it, immediately, the first things I can remember, because it's been about 4 years now, the first thing I remember was saying, oh my God, this could help my mom. My mom had been in intensive care for almost 1.5 years at that point.
Wow.
The second thing was I said, oh my God, I can't work another day in my life because I'm serving people these drinks. And then I also said in my mind, I know I can do it better than you. I know I could do this so much faster. I mean, it took them 3.5 hours almost. And I'm like, I can do this in 10 minutes. I can do this in 15 minutes. And that was the moment when I decided, you know what, because I actually ended up going back to work, and I was in the food industry. And I remember a little kid, he was about 5 years old. He came to my line and he asked for a bottle of water. And I remember giving it to him, thinking, like, I was just so, my conscience felt so heavy. I felt so guilty handing him this bottle of water, that I went to my general manager and I said, look, man, I appreciate everything that you've done. Like, thank you so much for this opportunity. I actually became the manager of that restaurant. I was running the entire store. And I said, dude, I just can't do it anymore. Like, I just can't not give this to any one person ever again. And so I put in my 2 weeks. I had no self-development, no sales experience, no nothing. And I dove straight into being a full-time entrepreneur.
Wow. That's an amazing story, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Now, I don't recommend anyone else do that, but that's what I did.
I've quit my job 3 times. I had a very short stint of trying to be employable, and I'm not employable. And I tell people the same thing. Do not quit your job until you have revenue.
Yes, straight up. Because you know what? I got, that turned into me struggling so hard my first year and a half in business.
Yeah.
Because I had, that commission breath and that need that, like, I have to make this dollar, or else how am I going to pay my rent? And so I don't tell anybody on my team to quit their job until they, get to where they need to be.
Yeah, for sure. And it's pretty interesting. And I actually don't know what company you're with or not, but I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the same thing, because it's Kangen water, right?
Yep.
It's unbelievable until you use it, because it's like it instantly, for my girlfriend, like, she instantly had all this inflammation go away that she used to have in one of her knees that she hurt when she was a kid. Like that, there's a ton of things, and I'm sure you can speak to it better than I can, but it's pretty interesting what's out there. And that's why I mean, but I'm not being very articulate. Sorry. I guess it's very interesting to see, like, a product like that that can dramatically change people's lives, that should be done through network marketing, I think. And then compare it to the other things that are sold that don't actually work. And you're super fortunate that you landed in the right company as a start, because I think so many people have the dream of being an entrepreneur, have a dream of getting into network marketing and working on their own and doing their own thing like you can. And I have plenty of friends that are full-time in network marketing with great companies, but too many people step into it and get burned. And then also, I guess kind of related to this, I know that you hooked up with Ray Higdon, which is a good friend of mine and one of the best leaders in the industry, in my opinion. And so you've done it right, but because you've done it right, what advice can you share to people that want to do network marketing right, but you see struggle? Like, obviously you have a team now and you're doing really well with it, but what have you learned? You've avoided some pitfalls somehow.
Definitely, man. One most important thing that I honestly can say to anyone out there who is struggling or going through any kind of, confusion or doubt or whatever it is that they're going through, don't be distracted by all of the marketing that's out there. Plain and simple. So it's very, very easy to develop what's called, I guess in my world, shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Where one person says, hey, I'm doing this way and I'm making this amount. And this one person says, hey, I'm doing this way and I'm making this amount. Hey, I'm doing this way and I'm making this amount. I'm doing this and I have this opportunity and this is what we offer that's different than this one. And I see people who are looking for that. They for whatever reason have not yet been able to shift from the employee mindset to the entrepreneur's mindset. And it's a very simple switch if you can understand this one concept. And it's, the employee will work and get paid, work, get paid, work, get paid. But the entrepreneur is more like work, get paid. Work, get paid, get paid, get paid. Work, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. Work, get paid, get paid, get paid, get paid. Work. And so many people are looking for that instant gratification, that when they don't receive it and they're in that employee's mindset, they look, that shiny object looks extra shiny now.
Yeah.
It looks, it's glowing. Like, oh my God, this isn't working. I got to go try this. And the next thing you know, they're in 15 different things before they know it, not having gotten any traction in anything and still don't have anything that they believe in. And so what I tell everybody is that success, in my opinion, people have different opinions, But in my opinion, belief is the foundation of absolutely everything. You cannot build the building without the foundation, and belief and success is the foundation. And without belief, not only in yourself, that's one aspect of it, but at the core, you must absolutely believe in what you have. And like you said, with what your wife experienced, my mom experienced within 6 months. My mom had been in ICU for, like I said, 3.5 years, okay, total. And that being said, when I came across this and what I saw it do for my mom after just 6 months, her, being able to go home, her being able to have her colon put back in her body, her being able to start using the bathroom on her own again and dress herself and cook and garden and all these things that we take for granted. It was not a matter of if I wanted to do this business. It was a conviction. It was like I felt like I have to share this with people, and if I do not, my goodness, it's such an unfulfilling life, because obviously this vision, these ideas, this mindset, this knowledge has been put inside of me for a reason.
Yeah.
And for me not to speak up and share it with the world would be such a shame. And so as a company, we have over 1 million units sold, right? Now it sounds like a lot, but in reality, that's nothing. That's nothing. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's 999 million and 1 million. We've only sold 1 million units. And this product is changing people's lives. And so that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to the best of the best. I'm hiring Ray. And so one thing that I recommend also is to put your ego down and listen to people who have done it before you. Plain and simple. For me, the first 2 years was school of hard knocks. Ego, 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 ego. I'm going to figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
Was my mindset. And now if I could go back, guys, I would pick one coach, one mentor to guide you from point A to point Z. And, once you get to that point Z, then you can reevaluate, okay, do I need another coach to help me get from point Z to point A on the next spectrum, whatever. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit, Gabe.
It does. That was absolutely amazing, man. And a couple of things I want to highlight for people watching, because nobody's ever explained it the way that you just did, and this is really key. And being employee, like you said, is work, pay, work, pay, work, pay, which I never thought about like this. Probably because I'm not a very good employee, but like you said, entrepreneurship is work, 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 and then get paid, and then work, 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 get paid. And if people are paying attention, the cycle starts to catch up.
Yes.
And then eventually, like all weekend, I got paid and I didn't work.
Exactly.
And I'm leaving for LA tonight, and I will get paid the entire time in LA. Not by my client there. I mean, obviously he's paying me, but like I'll make money every day. But I've put 20 years into this. So it's like, it snowballs and it catches up with you. But yeah, you'll never get off the ground if you keep chasing shiny objects. And so that is just huge. I'm just really glad.
And to kind of touch on that, just what you just said for everyone listening, pay very close attention. He said 20 years for that momentum ball to catch up. So when I say work, 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 get paid, it doesn't necessarily mean work for a week. It doesn't necessarily mean work for a month. It doesn't mean work for a year. It means work, 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 work until you get paid.
That's right. Until. And the other thing that you were really clear about, which I love, is that you totally believe in what you're doing. And I have not one time, and I don't watch every single live you do. I wish I could watch all my friends' lives, but I've watched a lot of your lives. I watch what you post. We interact a lot. We chat. I have not seen you, and this just means it's something that you don't focus on a lot. I have not seen you post all the time about how much money you make.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, and there are appropriate times when you can serve your audience and give value and help people to show proof and learning. But what's done wrong, in my opinion, in network marketing, you can tell me because what you think, but people create more of that shiny object stuff by focusing on dollars, which then perpetuates the employee mindset where they should be focused on creating value and serving people and believing what they're doing and like sharing how their life has changed. Like one of the videos I watched, you were like out walking with your dog or your kid or something, I forget, and you're like, it's the middle of the day and I'm taking a walk. And like, this is why I want you guys to understand the power of being able to be your own boss. And like, you explain the experience and the value that was coming out of it. That was attractive. Because you showing me how much is in your bank account or me showing you how much is in my bank account, that's very superficial. Because I could be miserable.
Yeah, of course. And it's my perception of money is so different than a lot of people's, Gabe. What you're gonna find is like with me, I really understand that money is the same thing as this piece of paper here.
Yep.
And when you can detach your perception of what money is and really start to focus on what abundance actually looks like, so much more will come into your life. For the longest time, I didn't realize how great of a manifester I was because I didn't think I was manifesting the right income. But in reality, man, I have to be one of the most abundant people I know, and not based on what's in my bank account,
Right.
based on the fulfillment I have in my life, based on the situations, the circumstances, the people, the reality that I live in. Very, very abundant. And so, yeah, man, to be honest, I find that it's very unattractive when I see people in my company posting about how much money they make.
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't do that, well, not only the reason, but a big reason, is because so many times now I've had to restore the integrity of our company because of how people operate and how they flash the checks and how they flash their income and a lot of false hope, false claims. You know, when I started online, there was, my goodness, not many people. There were not many people at all building this business online. And so now a lot of people are starting to build this business online. And I find myself having to restore who we are because of those silly income posts. So
yeah. Yeah, and I think I totally agree with you. I think the only difference, like where I find it appropriate, because I think people do need to think this through. Like if you're in a group where you're encouraging each other to sell and you're doing sales contests, or if that's directly operationally important to what you need to talk about, then absolutely you can.
Of course.
But if you're leading the conversation with, look at my big paycheck here, look at all these hundreds I got, then you're being an asshole.
Yeah, straight up, you should not prospect that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with holding contests and, you know, sharing it in that sense.
Right.
No, but yeah, like prospecting, it's super, super silly.
Yeah. So it ends up just like people get the wrong idea. And then again, I won't go on forever, but they perpetuate the employee mindset that you said, which is not going to help you be successful as an entrepreneur. And if you really are successful in network marketing, you are one of the most sophisticated entrepreneurs there is, in my opinion.
Yeah, and not to mention the number one role of a leader is to make things simple for your team, according to, okay? And so if I'm posting this, and this, and this, and this, you know, for example, like income and checks and all that crap, you know, a lot of people look at that and they see the work that I put in, they say, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And so my job is to my marketing is to make it look as simple as possible to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and then I feel like also, like I always see you just putting in the work. That's all I ever see you do, which is what you should show people if you want to lead them, because leading is work, and like being successful in business is work. I mean, this is not a hobby. This is not something that you start up overnight. It takes, you know, I mean, you can start today, but it does take time to reach success, and you have to learn a lot along the way. And so, I mean, that's just another thing I just really respect about you. You're super honest about what it takes, and that's authentic leadership. And if for everybody watching, think about your company, your product, whether you're in network marketing or you're, you know, starting your own business and product, or even honestly, if you're managing or leading in a company and you're supporting another entrepreneur, the right way to do it is be transparent, authentic, and honest, and say, it took me this long to get here. Or I say sometimes, if people pay attention, I'm like, by dumb luck, this happened to me. Because those things, I'm very fortunate that I've had a lot of, you know, good luck in some things too. But, you know, as the saying goes, my luck only came because I worked really hard for a while. So, but yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with just how you approach it, and it's just super refreshing. Like I said, I don't bring on a lot of network marketers, or certain things I don't talk about because I feel like people don't do it right. but you're here today because you legitimately care about the people that you're serving. It's obvious every day.
Yeah, man, and thank you for that. And, just to even be acknowledged for that, man, it's kind of hard to speak. It kind of chokes me up, man, just to know that, like, that's what's being perceived out there, because that's been the mission all along, is to show that we actually give a shit,
Right.
and that's what separates our team from anyone else in the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's super clear in it. So, I mean, fantastic job, man. Because that's exactly what I think that's what it's about. And it took me a long time to figure that out. I was pretty similar to you, except for I'm a much slower learner. The first 10 years of me being an entrepreneur was all hard knocks and stupid shit I did. And then the next 10 years, I started to get it. And then only really in the last few years did the light bulb really come on, where I figured out how to provide value to people.
Yeah, and I have to just give so much credit, man, to my mentors. I have some of the most incredible mentors on the planet. One of them being my mentor, Joko. He's from Indonesia.
Nice.
He started just 4.5 years ago with about $4,000 a year as his yearly income.
Wow.
As you can imagine. And he actually became the world champion of our company, Tommy Potter. Within 4 years. And if you can imagine, it just has completely, just entirely transformed his entire world.
Yeah.
Having him as a mentor, having him as a brother, someone I get to spend time with, and just feeling his heart. Talk about inspirational, like that right there, man, is powerful when you're around true global leaders, people who are making a real impact in the world. They're not just talking about it. It's incredible when you get around that kind of energy, because what he explained to me was because I'd been working online for quite some time, and I'd hit a plateau-ish, and I was looking to really go to the next level, like world champion level. Like,
right.
I'm like, how do I become world champion? And, we were talking all day, and he said, Curran, you want to know how I became world champion? And I was like, yeah, tell me. I've been waiting all day. And he was like, this right here. You see exactly what we're doing? And I said, yeah. He said, this is it. And I finally got it. It finally clicked. And there's something about being able to pour energy into people, and pour life into people, and pour vision and inspiration. And, for him to be able to say, Curran, I see you. I see me in you. I feel like when I look at you, I'm looking at me when I was 26 years old. And, there's something about that in-person energy transfer that I feel like is very, very, very rare and very special in today's world. And if you can learn how to give that energy transfer via video, via online, superpower.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Straight up superpower. And so that was amazing. But then also I have to give tons of credit to my mentor, Jonathan Amaret, who runs the #1 mind mastery school on the planet. And he teaches manifestation. Like that is his forte, is manifestation, manifestation, manifestation. And this guy's not just your average guru. He coaches billionaires, royalty, Rockefellers, Rothschilds. I mean, he's coaching, some of the most wealthy people in the world. His mindset mastery school, next level. And then definitely all my credit also goes to Ray Higdon, man. That dude has poured into me over and over and over and over again, without him even knowing. Believe it or not, I actually ended up finding Ray Higdon's podcast, Home Business Profits, when I first started. And those little 3 and 4 minute clips that he would do in his podcast changed my mindset, changed my business, changed everything. And then I finally started going to his events after about 3 years. And then after that, I actually ended up running into a couple named Ryan McMorris and Wesley Wolkes, 2 amazing coaches. And believe it or not, they coached me for the last year, which got me to a place where I could afford Ray as my coach.
Nice.
And hiring Ray for a year, and then also a one-on-one day. I'm just so excited, because it's like I already know that there's only, like I said earlier, there's only been 1 million units sold in our company.
Yeah.
And it's like I know with someone like Ray's marketing expertise, it's just going to help so many more people. And that's really what it's all about, just helping more people get this into their life. Because I believe what I heard one of my good friends once say, what if all it took for the world to be a better place was just for you to be you?
Well,
And that's my job, is to help people get freed up to be themselves.
yeah,
You know, whether that be financially, they need freed up, whether that be mentally, they need freed up, whether that be physically, they need freed up. I'm here to liberate people and be the bridge for people to find their dreams and unlock their potential.
that's powerful, man. And I wanna also give some kudos to Ray Higdon, because that guy is amazing and just loves and serves and gives, I feel like, 24/7.
He's a
And
robot.
he's incredible. He actually hired our company like 2 or 3 years ago. And as I look back on it, this has been happening to me a lot. But as I look back on it, I actually I should have hired him. Like we helped him and we had fun and it was great, and we kind of moved him from one point to the next, which was the goal, and then we moved on. But we're still good friends, and I actually got to meet him in person for the first time at Funnel Hacking, which was awesome. But I mean, he's such a kind, caring, honest person, and like that's what he taught me. He taught me that you could be successful in business and be kind and like really care about people and just give and give and give. And I was just blown away by his leadership, and that was the huge thing for me. It was such a huge win for me to learn his style of caring and leadership, and it's like such a huge impact on my life. And yeah, so if people are not following him, go check him out because he's amazing. And I'll drop a comment in here with his links later. But yeah, so I mean, I'm really glad to hear you're hooked up with him, and you know and I'm glad you explained kind of how you progressed to the level where you can hire him, because I think he's probably one of the best network marketing coaches in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So that obviously doesn't come without work and without time and effort, and you've graduated to that level. But you're always looking for the next level, coach. You're always looking for the next thing, because that's going to raise your impact and raise your value, and like you said, teach you in a new way how to pass that energy to the next person. And that's a really great description of that too.
And like I said earlier, pick one coach to get you to where you want to be, until where you then say, okay, now I need to reevaluate and figure out how to get to the next level, then find your next coach.
Yeah.
You know, my coaches that have been coaching me for the last year have been amazing. They helped me 3 times my business in the first week. You
Wow.
know what I mean? But now it's time to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, definitely.
And so much of entrepreneurship is mindset. I wish it was just like finding a great product or coming up with a good idea or, you know, things like that. But it really does come down to mindset if you want to next level it, because most people get into being an entrepreneur and they just bought a job. And if they're lucky, they'll cross 6 figures in revenue, not personal income, revenue. And you don't really, in my opinion, in this country, in this economy, you don't really get to experience the freedom and rewards of entrepreneurship until you can get to, you know, 500, 600,000, $1 million, because then you like aren't struggling anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, and not that you have to be struggling at the earlier stages, but I just feel like people don't realize that mindset is the difference between 50,000 and 500,000.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And that's what I tell all my students now. So I've been, as you said, grinding and working and learning and studying and all the mentorship and all the events and just all, you know, submersing myself in this, when I actually went to a course called the Landmark Forum, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Are you familiar with Landmark?
I've heard of it, yeah, but I've never engaged with them, but I'm real familiar with the name.
Cool. So when I went to the Landmark Forum last year, it completely opened up my eyes, and I realized in that moment, oh my God, I'm a coach. Like I never even thought of that, you know, but I was like, it really opened up my eyes. And so last year I decided to start coaching and started off with some personal students.
Nice.
One-on-one. And then I actually about 7 months ago was hired by a company called Wingman Coaching. And they coach the world's top internet marketers. They actually are contracted by the Super Affiliate Network, by Kate McShay, by Elite Marketing Pro, by Ray Higdon hired them for the last event. So basically, the world's top marketers hire coaches from Wingman to come coach their programs. And so I've actually been coaching now for about 6 to 7 months on just belief.
Wow.
you know what I mean, on just belief, man, and mindset, and let them know that that's what's going to make them or break them. So yeah, you're right. Like mindset is everything.
Yeah. So you've been doing that for 6 months now. So probably long enough to see people that get it and go to the next level, and people that don't, I'm sure too, because that happens. But
Exactly.
if you can share an example of, and you don't have to name anybody, obviously, but share an example of somebody that you coached that started out somewhere, and then when they had that big aha, and now they're at the next level. What does that look like? Because I don't think people always hear that story.
Well, here's the secret, guys. When you offer somebody something that they want, the price becomes irrelevant. Okay? And so I've become very good at asking questions to simply find out what it is that people want, and then I offer them that. And so what it looks like is somebody who is struggling in their mind. Let's say, for example, I had a client who, and believe it or not, for those of you who are out there watching this, maybe it's a couple of you, maybe it's thousands of you, I don't know. But believe it or not, I talk to 15 to 20 people a day, coaching students, okay? And I would say 14 out of 15 are in the worst situation that you could possibly ever be in. And this is all over the world. This is people who are, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole, who are, it ranges from age 18 to age 92 was my oldest student, right? And they're scared and they don't know what to do because they see the world around them transforming and they feel like they're being left behind and they don't know how to shift and transform. And so what's going on is people are struggling with not knowing how they're going to retire. The youth, people having no idea. And then we have the elderly who they didn't put back enough money to be able to retire. And so now they're having to go back into work. And so I had one student who was about, I would say about 6 figures in the hole in debt, in credit card debt. Mm-hmm. And I remember them saying, look, I just lost my job. I'm about to lose my house. My wife is about to leave me. My, life was just absolutely falling apart around them. And when I got to the price of what it will cost to upgrade them, at first they were like, well, I don't have any money. And that's, believe it or not, guys, when someone says I don't have money, it's actually a false response. It's almost like an automated response. So many people make the mistake in sales of believing someone when they say I don't have the money. People are liars. If you go to a car store, to a car dealership to buy a brand new car, you go there with full intention to go buy a brand new car, and the salesman comes up to you and says, hey, are you looking to buy a car today? You'll say, oh, no, I'm just looking, right? People are liars. And so believe it or not, when someone says, I don't have the money, you always need to dig a little bit deeper. And so I said, one of my responses is, well, I don't have that kind of money. And I just repeat it back. I let them hear what they say to themselves. I say, you don't have the money? And I don't say it like rude. I don't say it like in a demeaning way. It's just, you don't have the money? And then they start coaching themselves through it. Well, this, and I have this, and I guess I do have that one credit card, or I do have that one, and then that person's like, you know what, you're right. If I don't change something, I'm going to be in this exact same place next year or every year to come. So one of my big questions is once they say, well, I don't have the money, and I repeat it back, and I just stay silent. I just bite the pen. I just sit dead quiet. And then I'll just say, so let me ask you, what's the impact of you not making any changes? What does that look like? And they say, well, I would be broke still. I would be stuck. I would be, in this bad position. And, something that I like to do is I like to help people see the bigger picture. I like to paint the picture and help them take a step back. And I say, wow, that's a great point. Yeah, there's a good chance that would happen. I said, but take a step back for a second. So let's think about this for a second. So what if you did decide to move forward, right? And let's say, hypothetically, what if you were one of the many people to, what if you inspired one person who goes out there and helps 1,000? Or what if you inspire 1,000 who go out and inspire 1,000,000? I say, so yeah, the impact that you see right now, it's a little selfish because you're only thinking about you. I say, but in the bigger picture, I say, what about the 1,000,000 people who are waiting for you? And I'll say something along the lines of, I say, and so do you have any family? And if they do, I say, and do you have any kids? Yeah, I have a 10-year-old. I have a 12-year-old. I say, well, they're watching you. They're watching you every single step. And what if by you leading by example, even if you were to never create results, by you going after what you love and what your dreams, what if that inspires your children to go out and do the same? And they're the ones to go out and impact 1,000,000 people. What if your son's the one to go out and help 1,000,000 people? And that's when they're like, they're just like, Lord, like, oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
But something that I'm learning now, see, because that's more of like an explanation. Something I'm learning now because I'm going through a very powerful sales training called Sandler sales training. And they have something called an upfront contract. And it's an agreement that you come to before getting into the presentation or before you ask for the sale that handles all of the objections beforehand. So that's a whole different ballgame right there too. So that's something that I'm diving into right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never gone through that fully myself, but I've heard Sandler's. And yeah, I think you're totally right of what you just explained there. I mean, to think beyond, where you're at, and that's a super strong switch to be like, oh, you don't have the money. that's a powerful turnaround to make, and it's not just a little strategy. It works in my opinion, and you probably know why, because you're actually listening to the person and they realize that you're listening. And when you listen, you have the ability to care and make an impact and like do something positive. And so very few people have anybody in their life that will reflect back to them and say, so this is what I just heard you said. Is that right? Mm. And the power of our words is another mindset thing that I'm really just scratching the surface of this year. And
yeah, me too.
And it's like, you realize the smallest little word changes have massive impact. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you are your word.
I know, it's so weird.
Language is a very powerful tool, man. And if it's so crazy, just those minor. I mean, my one of my mentors just calls them 2-millimeter distinctions. Like, I mean, from saying like we to you or I to me, like even small little distinctions like that could make all the difference in the world.
One thing that I started doing like a year and a half ago was there's two phrases that I started using, which I feel have had a dramatic impact. One, like when I sign off of an email or message, like especially an email because it's a little more formal, I'm like, best regards, Gabe. Because like I sincerely want them to feel good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will thank me or be like, I like that, or that was great, or whatever. And I'll say my pleasure, because it really is. And like those are just two example phrases. There's other things that I use and I'm intentional with, but those are just two phrases that will sweeten your life and sweeten the life of the people that you come in contact with, and that's what it's about, right?
Exactly.
So it's just an incredible power there. So I really appreciate you being on, man. Give us a little brief about if somebody wants to learn more about Kangen Water or being coached by you or being a part of your team. Give us the brief on that and how they can hook up with you, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, real simple. The most easy way would be to just find me on Facebook. That's option one. Curran Alvarez. You'll find my Facebook. I'm the only one in the world. All right, so they won't have any problem there. Or if you want, you can go to my website, curranalvarez.com, and I do have a way for you to opt in also for coaching there as well. And then if you'd like more info about the water, let me know, and I can directly send you some more info.
Awesome. And I know you have a bunch of really great like short informational videos about that, because I've watched some of that stuff and I know there's a lot of cool things there. I would definitely encourage everybody to check that out and learn more about it. It really is crazy. It's a game changer. It's something I've used personally, and it's amazing. And to hear like your story about your mom. I mean, wow, I never heard anything that impactful from it. That's crazy.
Well, you know what, man? There's only so many stories that you can hear that, you know, before you're like, I have to tell the world.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I didn't say was that they had told our family my mom would be a vegetable for the rest of her life, on her deathbed, needing bedside assistance until she died. That's one part I left out. You know, and the fact that she's driving, gardening, going back to work, riding her bike, taking care of my brother's 2-year-old son. You can't really ignore it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions, definitely reach out to Curran. Thanks for being on, man. I super appreciate you and what you're doing in the world and in your industry too, of course. So thanks for all the value that you put out, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, Gabe, thank you so much as well for all the value you put out, man. I feel so honored to even be here with you. And my goodness, what a blessing. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. We'll definitely have you back on.
Okay. Have a great day, man. Thank you.
You too.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.